Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of your favorite gaming cast. It's Hack the Dino, bringing you all the gaming and casting it directly into your face, like some kind of game-filled pie. Watch those corners; they'll have your eye out. I am. What am I this week? I'm the stuttering person, Ben Rosenthal, and I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Anto.
Hello, everyone. I was going to say that you are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle himself, Ben Rosenthal, but the stuttering guy, Ben Rosenthal, works just as well.
Well, I think the stuttering guys are more of a villain. Like
Yeah, I think that
the
works.
turtles come to steal his pizza, and he's like, "No, not my pizza! Don't, please don't!" And they feel sorry for him, so they slice his Adam's apple. Anyway, we've got a great show for everyone tonight, as opposed to the bad show that we usually do. I've done some research, Anto. Well, not some research. It's a well-known myth. Sword Quest. We
Yes.
all know about Sword Quest. Yeah, it's quite a legacy.
Yeah,
Quite
it's an
a
old adventure game on the Atari that had multiple games and didn't end in a satisfying way.
no, and you could have won a big giant gold sword that seems to have disappeared because one of the greedy cocaine-filled execs allegedly stole it
Allegedly.
when Atari was divided into three separate companies or something like that. Anyway,
Hmm.
we're gonna talk about Atari tonight. We're gonna have a fun old time talking about their 50th anniversary and some releases they've got up. A bit of the history into Atari.
Okay.
And Sword Quest might come up. So quickly use your little fingers to do some Sword Quest searching and learn yourself some facts because Sword Quest is coming at your face like a nun's first curry, just escaping out and coming out fast,
Or a
all over.
quiz, you could say.
Yeah, that too, that too. But I have a bit of a surprise. I have
Ooh.
a bit of a mystery topic, or a mystery topic if we were in France and I was French and
Okay.
bad at accents. I'm all of those things. I'm one of those things.
Well,
Which
it's
one
pretty
is it?
accurate.
It's up to you to guess which one. Anto, I've got a mystery topic for you. Sorry, a
Okay.
mystery topic.
Mystery
Uh,
topic.
Now I want you to try and guess what that topic is.
You're a big Nintendo guy, so I'm
Hmm?
guessing something to do with how Nintendo used to own brothels?
They didn't own brothels. That's a lie. That's a
Oh,
horrible, slanderous lie. I'll have your ear.
allegedly.
No. It's to do with um, it's to do with clouds.
Okay, so we're talking weather patterns and how there was a drought that ran from like 2009 to 2016 in Australia.
Kind of, a little bit more focused on Well, you know the thing about clouds is that they often have angels in them, and
I thought we
sometimes
weren't
those.
going to get religious on this show.
Well, like this isn't the traditional angel. It's only got one wing.
Yeah,
Any
I'm not following.
guesses?
That just sounds like you've murdered an angel and ripped one of its
Yeah.
wings off.
Well, yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, no, but if I had the opportunity, hell yeah. Um, Look, pollution's bad, right?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Yeah. Don't you think that it would be a real good time to talk about uh, some kind of movement, like an avalanche, to stop sort of pollution? Is that ringing any bells?
So we're talking about like promoting the Greens over Labour?
Let's just get this thing started. Anto,
Hello.
what were you doing 50 years ago?
50 years ago, I was minus 18 years old.
Ah, good. 50 years ago, I was shoveling the snow out from my garage as I took the long trek to school on my hands, and I had to walk 50 miles each day. And there were buzzards who were constantly trying to peck out my eyes, but I wouldn't let them because I was a sprightly 23-year-old man. Anyway, I don't know what that was about. 50 years ago, Atari came out, and they are celebrating with the Atari 50 announcement game thing.
That's pretty impressive.
Sorry, I was trying desperately to stifle that saliva I was choking on. Uh, just for you podcast listeners. So Atari have announced the Atari 50 game collection. It's a collection of over 90 games spanning the many years of Atari releases. There will be 6 new games consisting of new releases in well-known series, as well as remade versions of older games. Now, I've got a quote here. We're going to get to something very, very quickly, but I do have a quote here about what this collection entails. Atari 50, the anniversary celebration, takes players on an interactive journey through 50 years of video games via interviews with designers, developers, and industry leaders, documentary footage, product design documents, high-resolution original artwork, and a specially curated list of more than 90 playable games. Now, what I love about this, to start off with, is the fact that it has all these interviews and all this artwork and all this behind-the-scenes and video game history stuff that we may not have seen before. And just preserving it I'm not a massive Atari fan. I will be getting this just to watch all those documentaries. I mean, yeah, sure, I can watch it on like YouTube or something when it goes up and people upload it. But just to have that sort of information and get an account of what it was like at the time when all these games were being made, I think that's fantastic. And because the games are so small, you can fit all this stuff on a disc.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting collection. I wasn't alive for a lot of the Atari generation to begin with, but we did have an Atari 2600 when I was a kid. I think it was actually the second console I played, which is a weird thing to say. It's just going to be cool to have this video game history in tangible physical format and not lost in someone's brain or a warehouse or an office building somewhere over in America.
Yeah, agreed. Now, the second bit of really, really cool news. Anto.
Hello.
You know of a game called Sword Quest, don't you?
I do.
Can you briefly fill us in about what Sword Quest was? Well, what those Sword Quest games were?
So there were, I think, there were meant to be 5.
4.
4. 4. They were games, adventure games, based around the... Initially, it was things like the Tree of Life, the 4 elements. So there was, I think it was Earthworld, Fireworld, and Waterworld that came out. Mm-hmm. And there was a 4th release, which was Airworld. But it was part of this long, sort of big promotional event that Atari ran back in, I think it was the late 80s. Mm-hmm. They ran a competition where they were giving away treasure, like actual ridiculously expensive ornaments and... jewelry boxes and things made of white gold and diamond and all sorts of crazy stuff. They ran competitions where you would have to mail in your scores on the game and using things like comic book hints that came with the game to solve the puzzles.
They've reprinted all those comics, by the way.
Have they?
Yeah, I've got a collection.
That's sick.
Somewhere around here.
But yeah, they basically ran a competition where you would play the game, mail your score in, mail in like an answer to a secret riddle if there was a tiebreaker, and then go to play a special version of each game that released at Atari headquarters for your shot at winning these prizes. And I think the grand total, the total amount of what these things were worth, totaled up to something like $275,000.
Yeah, back in the 80s, which is
back
a
in the
lot
80s.
of money.
So
Yeah.
chuck inflation on that, it's probably worth a heck of a lot more now. But
these
final
are things like crown and a scepter and
it was a
stuff
crown,
like
a scepter, and then there was like I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a box.
Yep.
That you opened up. It was like almost like I want to say a snuff box, but it wasn't a snuff box. What was it? Never mind. Either way, treasures. And there was the final treasure was it was like a sword that had a gold handle encrusted with like diamonds and rubies and sapphire. And it's like one of the biggest video game industry mysteries is where this final treasure is, and people think
because it actually exists. There's actual pictures of it, and it just disappeared because we never got the 4th game. They were cancelled beforehand. We got the first 3 games, never got the 4th one, so we could never get the grand prize.
Damn video game crash.
Anto.
Hello.
Sword Quest Airworld is coming to the Atari.
Are you serious?
Anniversary celebration. Yes, they've made it. They have made it. I've got it right here. Sword Quest Airworld. Yes, you read that right. After nearly 40 years of waiting, the team at Digital Eclipse has created the 4th and final entry in the legendary Sword Quest series, inspired by the design concept of the original Sword Quest creator, Todd Fry. Who will be the
That is so
first to
cool.
solve its mysteries and finally complete the quest? Now, there's no word on whether you get the sword or not, but this is amazing. It blew my mind that they're actually going back and doing this.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, I'm miffed that you didn't give me a copy of the run sheet that had that in. Like, that's insane.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
like if you can look up the history of Sword Quest. It's fascinating. It is a fascinating like Atari back in the 80s when they were going so well and just had so much money to blow on ridiculous crap like this. It's amazing. Like, oh my God. Have you heard stories about Atari back in the 80s, Anto?
I know
About
it was
the
it was
alleged
pretty
cocaine
intense.
fueled parties and
Yeah,
like
I've heard
that.
many a story that involves cocaine, hookers, and a whole bunch of other debauchery.
Like at a video game company. A
I
video
mean,
game
I mean,
farming country.
they were titans of the industry to begin with. You know, like their competition was the Intellivision, which I think was Mattel Electronics at the time,
Yep.
and then they had the ColecoVision, which was owned by Coleco was an attraction or an app. I can't remember the word. It was like a condensed abbreviation. There we go. For I think it was Connecticut Leather Company, and they made like leather products like couches and above ground pools and all this other weird stuff. And then they decided to throw their hat in the ring with a video game system. But even with these two rival companies, Atari they were a skyscraper in a village. Like they were huge.
Until they buried it all in the desert.
Until they buried it all in the desert. I did just want to add, for anyone who is interested in Sword Quest, he's never going to watch this, so it doesn't matter, but James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, he does a really, really good recap of what Sword Quest meant to the industry at the time, and goes into like his experiences like growing up playing it and watching this unfold in real time. So just look up Angry Video Game Nerd's Sword Quest. It's like a 10-minute video. It details how crazy this competition and these prizes were at the time perfectly in 10 minutes. And it's just a really cool bit of video. So go and watch that. That's a good way to get a rundown on how nuts it is that we're finally getting the fourth part to this.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
insane.
Insane. I cannot wait. I'm going to play it and be very, very happy. Now, Anto, looking at the run sheet,
Yep.
can you please read out to me what the topic is for this show?
So it says in highlighted yellow, mystery topic that only Ben knows about.
That's right.
So I literally, I've got a blank run sheet from that point onwards, pretty much.
You have literally nothing. So it's now time for me to reveal the topic.
Okay.
Do you remember, Anto? This was before your time, so you may not. But I did a couple of episodes of a podcast called Retro Trigger, where I sat down with someone and sort of went over the history of a particular subject. We did like Dino Riders, we did Super Nintendo. What else did we do? We did WWE with the next WWE wrestler. They were really, really fun, but really, really labor intensive. But I did enjoy them, and I have missed them. So, Anto, for one night only, maybe, I'm bringing back a Retro Trigger.
Maybe, depending on how this goes.
And we are doing the original Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Are you ready?
I was wondering why you were messaging me yesterday about what I thought about certain aspects of Final Fantasy VII.
All right, here we go. Retro Trigger of Final Fantasy VII. So in case you haven't heard one of these before, I have a little bit of a diatribe and we stop and chat about it. I just go over the development, the history of it, the stories, the characters, what they mean to who I had on as a guest, who is basically you this time, Anto.
Okay.
So we're going to crack into the story. Final Fantasy VII follows Cloud Strife, a mercenary who joins an eco-terrorist organization to stop a world-colliding mega-corporation from draining the planet's life essence, and using it as an energy source. Cloud and his allies are in pursuit of Sephiroth, a former member of the corporation who seeks to destroy the planet. During the journey, Cloud builds close friendships with his party members, including Aerith Gainsborough, who holds the secret to saving their world. Anto, what does this story mean to you?
I mean, it's no secret. It's already been brought up in chat earlier when you mentioned Final Fantasy VII, and I was getting crap for it from our viewers. 7 is my favorite video game of all time. The story itself, it's an old video game at this point. It's 25 years old this year. But just in case someone hasn't played it yet or doesn't already know the, for the time, absolutely world-shattering spoiler that happens about halfway through, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that kind of stuff, but the story in and of itself is wonderful.
It's a 25-year-old game. I'm spoiling the F out of it. Like,
okay, cool.
We'll stay away from remake for now, but if you don't know the big spoiler, too bad.
Yeah, what have you been doing? Why has your head been under a boulder?
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, the story is, as you said, it starts with you joining an eco-terrorist organization that seeks to stop a giant mega corporation from destroying the planet. Because in universe, the planet has a spiritual stream of energy that is responsible for the cycle of life and death and rebirth and plant growth and humans being born and all that sort of stuff. It's very, fantasy-esque because it's a fantasy game, ultimately. Man, you're gonna have to sort of like reel me in because this could go for
okay.
hours.
I'm gonna reel you in there because I purposely condensed the story to avoid this. I just wanted your particular memories of it. Like, I want to know what you think of it.
Okay,
what
cool.
To you?
Easy. I can sum that up in one. It is probably the most character-defining story I've ever experienced. Like, this game is the reason I play video games and is very much responsible for why I'm the person I am today.
And carries around a big sword. All right, let's look a little bit into the background. I'd be interested to know. I'm assuming you know a majority of this, but our listeners and viewers may not. So here we go, into the background. Development of Final Fantasy VII began in 1994 and was originally supposed to come out on the Super Famicom, which is the Super Nintendo, but over in Japan. After creating an early 2D prototype of it, the team postponed development of Final Fantasy VII to help finish Chrono Trigger before returning in 1995. And that's why those two games feel so similar.
Yep.
After delays and technical difficulties, Square moved production to pre-rendered video, necessitating the huge capacity of the CD-ROM format and therefore departing Nintendo from where all previous titles of the series had appeared for the PlayStation. Now, this was really big news back in the day because Final Fantasy was pretty much exclusive to Nintendo, and they just jumped ship because Nintendo couldn't handle the space needed for all those cutscenes and renders.
That's it. Even with, the 64DD add-on, which, didn't release outside of Japan.
That is literally my next sentence.
It wouldn't have been able to... It wouldn't have been able to handle the scope of how big FF7 was at the time.
Do you know how big?
In terms of size and space of the original?
Yeah, so
I think it's something like 1.3 gigs.
Yeah, so in order to fit Final Fantasy VII on the 64 Double D, it would need to span an estimated 30 discs.
Jeez, as in 30 DD discs.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep. Because each of those discs was 64 meg.
That would have been a video game that cost $2,500 to buy.
Yep. So you can see why they did decide to jump ship.
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure at one point they did do a prototype version for the 64, which had characters from 6 in it. You had Locke and Terra fighting a golem that looked very, very Dragon Quest-y.
Right.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. They jumped ship to Sony as soon as they saw that they were using CD technology, and they went, oh, okay, we can do some cool stuff.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII introduced more widespread science fiction elements and a more realistic presentation, while the gameplay systems remained largely similar to the previous entries, with the addition of new elements such as materia, limit breaks, and new mini-games. Now, what's materia?
Materia is... the simple answer is it's how you use magic and summons. In-universe, it is the condensed form of Mako energy or the life stream, and lets people use the knowledge of the ancients to cast magic and spells.
Right, and limit breaks?
Limit breaks are sort of an adaptation of what was known as the Desperation attack from Final Fantasy VI. Effectively, you take a certain amount of damage, a bar fills up, and you get a unique super strong ability or spell to use that's unique to the character. The most famous one would be Omni Slash, Cloud's big thing.
Right. The staff of more of 100 people had combined development and marketing had a combined development and marketing budget of around $80 million, which at the time made it the most expensive game to make ever.
Yep. Nuts.
The development team was split between both Square's Japan office and its new American office in Los Angeles. The American team worked primarily on city backgrounds. But to be fair, those backgrounds are gorgeous. Like, even by today's standards, they are some real pretty backgrounds.
Yeah, some of the well, not some of the entire pre-rendered sort of catalog of backgrounds has actually been upscaled by fans using AI and all this cool stuff, and just the artwork is nuts. And for 1997 was people had never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was amazing. All right, let's look at the couple of the characters, shall we?
Okie
So
dokie.
I'm only looking at the main characters.
Okay,
Final
so like
Fantasy-
playable ones or
Oh, you'll see. You'll see.
okay.
You'll see. Final Fantasy VII takes place on a world referred to in-game as... Are we showing any footage, by the way? There should be some footage
I
playing
can
to make it non-boring.
Oh, there we go. This is the thing you told me not to look at for a while.
Correct.
Okay,
look at it now.
I'll skip through and find some stuff.
All right, as I'm going,
That's-
Final Fantasy VII takes place on a world referred to in-game as the planet, though it has been retroactively named Gaia. Now,
Gaia.
sorry, yeah, Gaia.
I know you don't like Final Fantasy, but come on.
Whoa! No, that's bad.
Oh, I didn't even go there.
That is a bad joke, Anto.
I take that back. I did not even realize that it sounded like that.
Yeah, that was an innocent mistake, but we here at Hack the Dino in no
Proud
way
supporters of
support-
everyone.
Absolutely. No derogative statements were meant or intended, and we apologize if we insulted anyone. That wasn't our intent. So, Gaia,
Yes.
were you aware of this name change happening?
I assumed that because of previous games that it was just called Gaia to begin with.
Right.
I think it was in later media, like in Advent Children and sequel games that they made in the sort of 2000 era, where they sort of confirmed it was called Gaia. I think it was around Final Fantasy 9, I think, or 10 that they confirmed it was Gaia. I can't remember to be sure.
Right.
But yeah, I always just assumed it was because that's basically the name of every world that Final Fantasy takes place in.
Oh, okay. See, I was discussing with you last night, and I thought it was to give the world more of a character. Like, I asked you straight up, is Gaia, the planet, a character in Final Fantasy VII? And
That's okay. Yeah, no, yes. To see, it's a weird question. Like yes and no,
how so?
because like the planet is technically we're getting
But
metaphysical
it's getting its
and
life force drained, so therefore it must be alive.
it's an entity. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's like a Marvel character.
It's like Ego, the living planet.
Yeah,
The original one, not the
that's
one
a good
in
way
the-
to put it. Yeah, except it can't move around and impregnate women on Earth,
Or can it?
or can it?
The planet's life stream is being drained for energy by the Shinra Electric Power Company, a world-dominating mega corporation headquartered in the city of Midgar. I always love that name for a city. Don't know why.
It is a very cool name.
Shinra's actions are weakening the planet, threatening its existence and all life. So that's the settings. Let's get into some of these characters. First up, Cloud Strife, an
Yes.
unsociable mercenary who claims to be a former first-class soldier who watched way too much Dragon Ball Z as a kid.
I don't know about the Dragon Ball Z part, but yes,
That's a fact. It's written here. It's a fact.
written by you for sure.
So what's his appeal as opposed to the other? Like, out of all the Final Fantasy games, I cannot think of one character. Maybe Squall. From is it 10?
Scores from 8.
8, and that's because he's ridiculed. But Cloud seems to be the one hero from all Final Fantasies that your everyday layman who hasn't even really played the game knows and remembers. And why is that?
I think, and this is probably my interpretation, and I'm absolutely open to not being challenged because like my opinion's not definitive, but I'm open to discussion. But I think Cloud is appealing because at least even when I played it as a kid for the first time, he was a character that's kind of mysterious. Like he, as you said, touts himself as this former top tier soldier for the enemy that you're fighting at the beginning of the game, which is already, a pretty cool story hook. But he leans into that sort of character trope of having massive sword. He's very like Guts and a whole bunch of other anime characters at the time who were just rocking around with these huge swords, performing superhuman feats. He's just, maybe it's my bias, but like as a kid, I was like, he's cool. The big sword, the fact that he can move around while using this thing. He's mysterious. I kind of disagree with to a degree, I disagree with original Final Fantasy VII Cloud being moody, because, like, to me, he always came across as more, like, quietly confident and cocky. But yeah,
Moody?
like...
I don't think I said moody.
Moody, broody. I think I got confused between what Townsy was saying in the chat. He said he was a sort of brooding kind of character. Gotcha. But yeah, like... The appeal to me was that he had a huge sword, which I was very into when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, big swords, big characters, that's cool. Just... I can't really sum it up in words.
Well, just do an interpretive dance while I read out the next couple. Barrett Wallace.
Just look at the guy. He's awesome.
Brazen but fatherly leader of Avalanche, but with a heart of gold. He's tough, but with a heart of gold. Then we've got Tifa Lockhart, a shy yet nurturing martial artist and childhood friend of Cloud. Now, having not finished the game, do Cloud and Tifa ever become more than friends?
Depending on which version of the game you played, potentially.
Oh, really?
In the Japanese version, and in the Ultimania guide that came out a few years back, there is a scene late in the game where most of your party members leave to find their reason to do the final battle. They go away to spend time with loved ones and find their reason to put themselves at risk to save the world. Cloud and Tifa, because of events in the story and Sephiroth's actions and stuff, don't have a home to go back to. Their town was burned down 7 years prior to the game starting. And Cloud's mother was murdered. Tifa's family were murdered. They literally are the last two people from their original town, outside of, I think, Tifa's martial artist teacher. So they spend their last night before the battle together, and in the Japanese version, it's heavily implied that they spent the night together as an item. Just through some of the text that you read the following morning. But there was a cut scene removed from the game.
Bang, 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 bang. Don't know what that means.
That's the implication. But yeah, there was a cut scene where instead of it cutting to them sitting on a rock face watching the sunrise together, on the airship that you travel around on...
Sorry.
Not quite. But yeah, on the airship, there is a space to house a chocobo, which is like a giant bipedal bird that you can ride around on like a horse. There was a cutscene removed from the game that showed Cloud leaving that room first, and then Tifa coming out afterwards and like brushing herself down and fixing her hair. So I'm of the opinion that, especially in later releases, that they very much are an item, if not, explicitly so, But
what about Aerith Gainsborough?
This is where the fandom gets divided.
So the carefree flower merchant and one of the last surviving, is it Cetra? Cetra? So what's a Cetra? Just very quickly, because we're running long.
An ancient, I guess, race of humanoids that had the power to communicate and commune with the planet and use its life force to do things, which is why materia is important.
Right, so spoiler alert. Here we go. Here's the spoiler alert for a 25-year-old game. What makes her death so impactful?
She is the last remaining member of a race of people that are able to use the planet-saving magic Holy, which is the only way to stop the opposite force, which is called Meteor, from destroying the planet. She gets killed halfway through praying to the planet to be able to use this spell and save the world. And yeah,
All right.
it sucked.
And uh, Aerith is also very close with a gentleman called Zach Fair.
Yes.
And just quickly, who is Zach Fair, and why isn't he a wrestler with a name like that?
Yeah, I've always wondered why like someone hasn't used that name as a stage name. It's very cool. Zack is important because Cloud is not actually a former first class soldier. He is impersonating Zack, who was his sort of idol when he was in the Shinra military force, because he never actually made it into soldier. Zack was like a war buddy of Cloud's. His best friend, idol, mentor, that kind of thing. They were captured after the incident at Nibelheim, which is Cloud and Tifa's hometown, where Sephiroth burned it to the ground and murdered everyone. They were imprisoned, experimented on, and injected with the same alien cells that created Sephiroth. And because of this, when Zack died, the Genova cells inside Cloud allowed him to sort of metastasize his memories and impersonate him both physically and mentally. So it's about 3/4 of the way through the game that it's revealed Cloud is actually just a normal dude who happens to have augmented abilities because of his experimentation, and he's been mimicking Zack the entire time. And Aerith knows this, and that's why she sort of interacts with Cloud the way she does until she dies.
All right, well, let's have a look at some of these bad guys. First up,
Yes.
Rufus Shinra, son of President Shinra and later leader of the Shinra Corporation. Bad dude?
Yes and no. I think he's a better leader than his old man was. But he's still ultimately a bad guy. He runs a company that is destroying the world. Intends to take over his father's work, but instead of ruling with money, rule with fear and oppression and violence. So he's kind of bad. As a character design, though, especially in Remake, sick.
What about Hojo, the mad scientist who has a big reveal at the end?
Yeah, so Hojo is a bit of a mother fluffer.
He's a bit of a mother father, if you know what I'm saying.
He's also a mother father, yes. He is Sephiroth's biological father.
Spoiler.
There's no, he's biological father of Sephiroth. He and a woman he was working with during the Genova project, which is what was used to create Sephiroth, hooked up, had a baby, and he injected alien cells into the fetus, and that's what Sephiroth is.
Metal.
Yeah, he's a bad dude, and he's the guy who experimented on Zack and Cloud, and is the reason Zack died.
All right, let's talk about the big man himself then.
Yes.
The one-winged angel himself, a former soldier who reappears several years after he was thought dead and seeks to harm the planet and become a god himself. I'm talking about that silver-haired god of Pantene, Sephiroth! He's got nice hair.
He does have nice hair.
Sephiroth, a quintessential, like, iconic bad guy.
Absolutely iconic. Like you said with Cloud, you can say the name Sephiroth to anyone who knows video games but maybe doesn't care about Final Fantasy, and they'll still know who you're talking about. Especially now, thanks to things like Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yeah, he's just... His whole deal is he believes, mistakenly so, that he is the rightful heir to the planet and deserves to rule. And then decides, for some reason or another, that he's going to destroy it completely and absorb all of the energy that comes from murdering the planet to become a god and travel the universe. There's not much more evil you can get, I don't think.
Well, you can not like puppies.
I mean, yeah, you could use a puppy to murder a kitten that's stealing candy from a baby, I guess.
Interesting.
That's pretty evil.
Let's go into a little bit of the original plot and outline very, very quickly. I'm just going to jump around a bit because we have run a little bit long, but that's okay. I remembered all of a sudden I don't have a full hour for this, so I've written a bit. But the original plot outline for the 2D Super Nintendo or Super Famicom version, the game setting was envisioned in New York City in 1999. Do you know what else happened in a very famous game developed by Square Enix in 1999?
I don't know what you're alluding to, no.
Chrono Trigger, Lavos attacked in 1999.
Oh, there you go. See, I've not finished Chrono Trigger, so...
Similar to the final story, the main characters were part of an organization trying to destroy Maker reactors, but they were pursued by a hot-blooded detective named Joe. Yep, Joe. The
Okay.
main characters would eventually blow up the city. An early version of the live stream concept was present at this stage. Square eventually used the New York setting in Parasite Eve in 1998.
See, I knew that bit. I knew Parasite Eve was related somehow to the original development, but I didn't know any of the other stuff about blowing up New York. Holy crap.
In regards to Sephiroth, the pursuit of Sephiroth that comprised most of the main narrative was suggested by Nomura, as nothing similar had been done in the series like that before. And of course, getting on to possibly one of the most iconic moments in the game, writers wanted to depict Aerith's death as sudden and unexpected, leaving, quote, not a dramatic feeling, but great emptiness, feelings of reality and not Hollywood. After Aerith's death, it was planned for most of the main cast to die shortly before the final battle. The idea was vetoed as it was thought it would undermine the impact of Aerith's death. That's pretty cool. Like, that is good writing. Like, to kill off a beloved character halfway through, and then to make the decision, no, if anyone
It's
else dies,
permanent.
it'll cheapen. Yeah, like, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
Which I think is why it's so heartbreaking now.
It's always been one of those things that, if you know the reason behind why that decision was made, it makes a lot of sense. And thematically, it makes a lot of sense. Fans have always complained, however, that in a universe where characters can die and be brought back with a feather from a mystical bird, that, why doesn't that work anymore? But
Different planet, dude.
different planet, different rules, no physics.
Yep, that's right. That's right. All right. Look, very, very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly. Let's just very quickly touch on the music.
We're going to have to sum it up in like 5 words or less because, again, I will talk for hours.
Okay. Tell me about, very, very quickly as you can, One Winged Angel. Talk about it. What is it?
I didn't think you were going to go there. I thought you were just going to ask me what I thought of the soundtrack in general. One Winged Angel is a huge, like 12-minute long song. Which
Do you know
was
why
written
it's so long?
just because they wanted it to be epic.
Well, but do you know how it was the composition, how it was composed?
I think I do, but I don't want to get it wrong.
Who cares? You're wrong. Who cares?
I know it was too much almost for the PlayStation to handle initially.
Yep. And it was for the PC. Definitely was for the PC. The composer, I forget his name now, composed
Nobuo Uematsu.
That's the one. Composed a bit each day.
That's right. Yeah, he did it in stages.
Yeah.
It's one of the best pieces of music in the soundtrack, but the soundtrack in general just has wildly different pieces. The game starts sort of quite downtrodden. You leave Midgar and start the journey proper. It's sort of the music picks up, starts to sound a bit more hopeful and optimistic. The theme that plays when Aerith dies, which, ironically is called Aerith's theme. Beautiful, like, orchestral piano piece. It's just, the music in this game is one of my favorite soundtracks ever, closely followed by Final Fantasy IX.
All right. Well, let's talk about how it was received when it was released. So Final Fantasy VII was announced in February 1996. A playable demo was included on a disc, which was given away at the 1996 Tokyo Game Show, dubbed Square's Preview Extra, Final Fantasy VII, and SIGGRAPH 95 works. Now, do you have one of those discs, Anto?
I do not.
How much do they go for?
I'd have to look it up, but I think the last time I checked, a couple of $100 at least.
Wow, that's crazy. And the only way you could have had these was if you were at TGS.
TGS 1996, yeah.
Wow. It was released on January 31 in 1997 in Japan. A re-release of the game based on its Western version, titled Final Fantasy VII International, was released on October 2nd in 1997. So what are the differences between these two?
The Japanese International re-release, the original version of the game didn't have the super bosses.
Right.
So FF7 International for Japan had the Ruby and Emerald weapon fights that the rest of the world got by default. And it fixed up a few other bugs and issues with the game that launched initially, because it was a good 6 or 7 months between the launch of the Japanese version and the Western, like, US version.
Right. Now, they really went into overdrive promoting this game as well. I remember seeing the ads in comic books because I was heavily into X-Men and Spider-Man back in 1997. And every single comic book on either the interior or the exterior page of the cover, like the inside of the front cover or the back cover, had Final Fantasy VII. That iconic shot of Cloud looking up at one of the towers with his sword there, and like just even seeing that, I went, "Oh, what's that game? Oh,
I'm
what's that game?"
pretty sure you're referring to this one.
Oh, he's bringing it up. Look at that. The game received universal acclaim for critics upon release, scoring 95% or higher in most publications at the time. Final Fantasy VII was given numerous Game of the Year awards in 1997. Digitizer ranked it as the second best game of 1997 after Super Mario 64. Had to get that one in. It sold more than 13.3 million copies worldwide. Now, Anto,
Yes.
I think we've got, before we head into Quiz on Your Face, we've got time for a very quick Final Fantasy VII quiz.
Oh no, you're gonna
And these
ruin
are
me, aren't you?
hard. These are hard-ass questions. So
Okay.
if you don't know, it's okay. Okay? I
You've
will
probably
say,
picked the
though,
most esoteric things, haven't you?
no, I will give you a clue.
Okay.
They are all based on Sephiroth because he's a badass. And I
Okay.
like badasses. So let's see how well you know Sephiroth. Okay, here we go. Hell's Gate is Sephiroth's final smash move and is based on Aerith's death scene in the original. Where did that move first appear?
I mean,
Hell's Gate.
it's not his final smash in Smash Ultimate. His final
Isn't it?
smash is Supernova.
But he has that move, right?
But Hell's Gate is his down A attack.
Correct. That's where I messed up. Yeah, sorry. My bad. Yeah, Hell's Gate. Where did it appear?
I'm fairly certain, as far as just first appearance without a name on the screen, or just in general.
Give me both.
I think the first appearance of it as a move you could perform was in the PS1 fighting game Ergaze.
Correct! Yes!
Yeah, and then it was in Dissidia, the fighting game on PSP.
Excellent. I wasn't sure if you knew that. Part of me thought, yeah, surely you must know that. But
I
yeah,
loved that game because of the Final Fantasy characters.
Cloud was in that game as well, wasn't he?
Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa, and Vincent, and Yuffie.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, had a whole bunch of them because it was a Square-developed fighter.
Question number 2.
Yes.
Besides one, each voice actor, both Japanese and English, who has voiced Sephiroth, has also voiced which superhero?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, isn't it?
So
Every single person, besides one, both Japanese and English, who has ever voiced Sephiroth, has also voiced this superhero.
Can I ask you to give me a hint based on whether or not it's a Japanese superhero or an American one?
It is an American superhero.
Damn it, I thought you were going to say it was Japanese and I was going to go with Ultraman. Ooh, that's a toughie. I'm going to just take a flat-out guess.
Yep.
Okay, wait, no. Can I ask for one more hint?
All right.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
Ooh, that's even harder. Damn. Superhero, not comic book character.
Superhero.
Damn it, I don't know many DC superheroes.
3, 2, 1. Guess.
Don't know.
Superman. It's Superman.
I was hedging my bets on Superman or for some reason Green Lantern.
No, Superman. Every single person bar one, both Japanese and English. I thought that was crazy.
One of Sephiroth's voice actors was also a member of NSYNC.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And Superman. Who would have thought? Does Sephiroth have nipples?
In later releases, yes.
When was it confirmed?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Dissidia on PSP.
No.
No?
Smash Brothers.
Really?
In Dissidia, they put his hair purposely over there so he couldn't
Oh,
see.
that's a good point. Characters.
But even before Smash Brothers, Tokyo Game Show had a life-size statue of him in the floor that had nipples, and that was like
yeah, that one's still in the Square Enix cafe. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right, easy one. One-winged angel. Who's the wrestler who uses it as a finisher?
That's not an easy one. I know nothing about wrestling.
I've mentioned it numerous times on the show. If you
Yeah,
listen
I
to
know,
me,
but because it's wrestling, I don't. God. Does his first name begin with R?
no.
Damn it, don't know.
Kenny Omega. His finisher is called the One-Winged Angel, and it has only ever been kicked out of twice.
Yep. No, I do remember you saying Kenny Omega.
Yep. Amazing, amazing wrestler. All right. That's it. That's all the Final Fantasy stuff I have for. Was that a nice surprise, Anto?
That was a good surprise. I like that. That's fun.
I might do another one later on in the future. I have been toying with the idea of bringing Retro Trigger back, but time, and I don't have much of that. But do you know what we do have time for?
Quiz on your face.
Time to quiz on your face.
Interestingly, we're going to play it even though Floppy's not here, and I'm going to take as many chances as I can to take the lead.
Well, that's the right you have of turning up.
Yeah.
Instead of battling aliens on a moon. So when we last left, we don't know which one.
Yeah.
Could be Europa. Ben S from Toy Power Podcast was on 1. Trent from Toy Power Podcast was on 2. Braden was on 5. Jazz is on 2. Anto, you're on 17. And Floppy's on 18. So you have the chance to take the lead here. I have 4 multiple choice questions based on video game random knowledge. Are you ready to go, Anto?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Townsy just said get Jazz in.
We could. Jazz, are you there? No, she's not here.
No, she's not here. She just told you she's not here.
No, I'm not here. Go away. Leave me alone. Okay. Question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic was originally which type of animal at first? Was he A, an armadillo, B, a porcupine, C, a dog, or D, a man with a moustache?
Ooh. Can you repeat the first 2 choices? Because I do not remember them.
A, armadillo, or B, porcupine?
I'm going to guess, based on the fact that his name before Sonic was Mr. Needlemouse, with porcupine.
Incorrect. It was an armadillo.
Ooh, really?
Ooh, yes.
Wow.
Sonic Boy doesn't get it right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so you're still 1 behind Floppy. Floppy's still in the lead on 18. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's from Dylan the Villain.
Hey.
Patreon supporter Dylan the Villain. Be sure to chat with him over on our Discord. You can find the free one over at hackthedino.com. Come on in. The first computer game, Tennis for Two, was made in what year? A, 1957, B, 1958, C, 1959, or D, 1960?
57.
Incorrect. 1958.
Damn it!
If it makes you feel any better, Anto, I actually questioned Dylan on this because I thought it was Space War. And then
I thought it was Space War.
No, yeah, same. I knew I had the story right of it in the basement of a physics building over in the US. But it was, Tennis for Two. I forgot that they had tournaments and everything. But then Space War came shortly thereafter. So you still haven't got a point. This was your opportunity to catch up and blitz Floppy. And
look, I've still got 2 more, okay?
All right. This one I'm sure you'll get. Okay, you ready?
Oh, now you've said that, there's more pressure and I'm going to get it wrong.
It's almost like I did it on purpose.
Ooh.
The world's longest fanfic is based on which video game?
Ooh, I know it, I think.
A, Metroid. B, Pong. C, Super Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers.
Or D, Leisure Shoot Larry.
No, I'm calling it Smash Brothers.
Correct.
It's like something like 10,828 words or something currently.
What is wrong with people?
People will write erotic fan fiction about anything.
You ready for the last one?
Yes.
Now, this one is from Patreon supporter and leader of Game Boy Games, Michael Towns. As such, there's a bit of text.
Okay, so it's a long question.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Game Boy title Baby T-Rex was released in Europe in 1993 but was subsequently reskinned in multiple other territories. Which classic 90s early morning show was this Australian game based on? Was it A, Cheese TV, B, Good Morning Australia with Bert Newton, C, Agro's Cartoon Connection, or D, as Michael Towns puts it, Super Mario Brothers 2. Did you know that Super Mario Brothers 2 over here wasn't actually Super Mario Brothers 2? Did you know? Did you? I need scissors.
61. So, this is a bit of a tough one because I only know that Cheese TV is a real thing.
Right.
Because I'm not Australian. So, I'm going to go with the only thing I know and guess that it was B.
Good Morning Australia with Bert Newton. No.
Yep. It was Cheese TV, wasn't it?
No, it was Agro's Cartoon Connection.
I've never even heard of that.
Agro is a little Muppet. I've actually got this game. It's very, very hard to come by. It's actually over there. I should have grabbed it. But yeah, Agro Saw is what it's called. North America got a version based on the animated film We're Back. Sweden got a version of a popular comic strip and short film series, and eventually feature film called Bamsey. He writes a lot of stuff. But yeah, basically, it's a reskin game, and we got Agro.
Okay, yeah, totally fair question for an Australian, I guess, but I have never heard of anything outside of Cheese TV, and I only know who they are because I watched a panel at PAX a few years ago when I met the guys.
So at the end of that round,
I tied with Floppy.
Ben S on 1, Trent on 2, Braden on 5, Jazz on 2, Anto on 18, and Floppy on 18. Wow. I had such high hopes for you. I should have done what I joked and made this a Final Fantasy VII quiz.
Yeah, why can't we do that? Let's do it now.
No, because now we've been Hack the Dino, and this has been our gaming cast, where we talk about the past, present, and future of video games. But this isn't all we do. Anto.
Hello.
Do you do?
Outside of this and other Hack the Dino related things, hackthedino.com, go to it, go check it out, go. I've started a new Instagram channel. Profile, account. Account's probably the best way to talk about it. True to my pre-existing and forever existing character, I've started a Final Fantasy page.
OnlyFans. That's
on
right.
Instagram.
You can see Anto over at OnlyFans. Anto, tell us about your OnlyFans.
It's called Only Final Fantasy. No. So I have created an Instagram page called Final Fantasy. Because, puns are fun.
I'm very proud.
And Final Fantasy in all capitals was taken. I'm just putting up pictures and little spiels about my Final Fantasy collection. I'm going to try and pull it up on here, which I hope I can.
No, save that for your OnlyFans.
I don't have an OnlyFans, and if I did,
Sure you
nobody
do.
would pay for it.
Everyone would pay for it. Sign off in the chat if you'd play to see Anto's OnlyFans. It's just him cooking.
Yeah, it's just me cooking in the nude all the time.
Yeah. That big old hog.
Can we not talk about my hog on podcast again? Anyway, so I found it. Give me a sec.
OnlyFans?
No, not my OnlyFans. Shut up. Stop talking about my goddamn OnlyFans.
Well, you got to promote it, Anto. Otherwise, no one will know about your OnlyFans.
So, here we go. It's very new. It's just, again, collection stuff that I have. I recently picked up the Crystal Edition of Final Fantasy III, which came with a branded DS Lite.
That is so nice. That is a sexy system and sexy package.
It's really nice. The
really
artwork is amazing. I was showing Ben yesterday when we were testing this setup. The system is basically untouched. I don't think it was ever used. It's pristine, and I didn't pay a lot of money for it.
And Anto, do you want to tell the people out there what you did?
What did I do?
Well, how'd you play that DS? What did you do?
So I was under the assumption that a 2.5 volt rated Australian power adapter for a DS Lite would be fine with a Japanese system. Ben has since told me that that's probably not a good idea, so
Nope.
I need to get a backup, DS charger, because that's a no-go, just in case it blows up.
Yes, we've got you covered. Don't worry about that. But when I'm not doing this... Oh, sorry, have you finished? What's your OnlyFans?
I have finished.
Okay, good. He must have been looking at his OnlyFans.
Shut up.
When I am not looking at Anto's OnlyFans, I am doing many other things, like putting my collection up over at Mr. Benjamin on Instagram. You can go over there and give me a follow and see all the cool stuff that I'm looking at right now, because I never get to sit in this chair and look at all my cool stuff while doing this show. I get distracted real easy because I've got a lot of cool stuff. So Mr. Benjamin, at Mr. Benjamin. But also head on over to at Bad Game Arts, where I often forget to put bad game art that has appeared in video game history, in magazines and in video games, and put it hurriedly up like 5 minutes before the show starts. So, if we can head on over to Bad Game Arts, I can have a look at what I've put up. And can you tell that I'm stalling for time because I can't remember myself? Good.
We are on the Bad Game Arts page. Currently, we are looking at a Japanese magazine cover which has Mario stepping on a normal turtle.
Yeah, isn't that awful?
That is
Holy
awful.
crap, Mario! What is going on there? And then the next one over, we have a baseball game from 2020, Future Baseball in 2020. Now, you might look at that and go, oh, it's not that bad. It's got a guy with a big old mouth yelling out and everything. But if you look just to the right of the green baseball player, there's a
I'm
little
not sure
robot.
spines are meant to work like that.
There is a little robot hiding there. And we don't have robots in baseball.
No, we don't.
So you know what I'm saying? Someone's altered the timeline.
Mm.
We have to go back.
Back to the future.
And finally, big old chonky dragon. Let's see that chonky boy. Look at him. He's eager to eat that jester. He's going to chomp him all up and add him to the family that's in his belly. Like a good old dragon person.
That's some pretty bad game
Bad
art.
game art. Bad game arts. But bad game arts. Remember, bad game arts. Because bad game art was already taken. So bad game arts. S.
Did
on
we
the end.
talk about Kickmaster?
Oh, we've talked about Kickmaster a whole bunch.
So
And
bad.
if you like Kickmasters, head on over to Anto's OnlyFans, where he can kick your master or make you a master. He can be your master of the universe if your universe is your penis.
I don't have an OnlyFans.
Stop.